Kelsey, I'm been waiting for this call. I've been super excited to chat with you. I know there's a lot of exciting things that we're going to talk about. So why don't we just start by you just telling me or telling us who you are and who you serve?
I am Kelsey. I'm a Hatha Yoga and meditation teacher, and I, as far as who I serve, I've served a lot of people over the years. I've been a yoga teacher for over 10 years, and have served a lot of community-based needs. So it tends to be a lot of kind of the older crowd, and or you know younger, even 20s to 30s. That's typically who I work with. I don't usually do anything like youth involved, although I do know some great kid yoga teachers. So that is out there, it is there. But but yeah, so I would say I mostly work with people who are looking to like deepen their practice beyond what you can just do in a normal 60-minute yoga class at a studio in any city in America, you know.
Sure, sure,
Um,
sure.
yeah. So, yeah, I kind of came upon doing that through my own, just kind of looking and searching really in need of just spiritual understanding. Um, is really kind of how I came to yoga. I'd been athletic and done other things when I was young, but it was not like, oh, I want to go work out, so I'm going to start doing yoga. Like that's not how I found yoga, which is funny because that's how a lot of people find it. They're like, oh, it's
Hmm.
an exercise that I'm going to go do this exercise class. When for me, it was looking into, yeah, like just truth of existence, and I had kind of at a very young age renounced like Christianity and was just kind of like, this isn't for me as far as being in a sect religion,
Hmm.
and so I kind of was like, but it's not for nothing. This world isn't like we're not all living for nothing. But I just am not down with this. So
Sure.
then I just kind of went on this exploration of just reading, and that was really all it was. Because honestly, the internet was not as robust as what it is now. When we were like 14, 15, 16, 17, which
Hmm.
was when I really started that journey. And yeah, I started reading about different religions, different philosophies, different just ways of thinking, and kind of saw some, like, obviously a lot of similarities in, there's a very common thread throughout all of them. But I really found that Buddhism was like my favorite. It was kind of my jam. And I read a lot of texts about the Buddha and of the Buddha and the stories and his stories and the quotes, just all of the things, really kind of dove in there because I was like, I'm really finding like authentic truth here that I've lived and I feel is true, where I didn't feel that in a lot of other
Hmm.
places. I might have felt a little bit of relation in some of those religions and whatnot, but not like full understand, like I'm feeling understood by somebody right now. Um, um, and yeah, and within the teachings and stuff was meditation. What he's obviously always talking about meditation because that's how Buddha came to find enlightenment was meditation. And so I was like, oh, that's interesting. And there are some drops of, he does mention yoga, and he does mention that a little bit here and there because yoga predates the Buddha. And um, I was like, what is this yoga thing? And
Hmm.
growing up in rural, tiny, small town Michigan, northern Michigan, so we did not have yoga studios around. If I would have asked someone what a yoga class was, they would have been like, haha, I don't even know. Go to, like, I don't even, like, it's just, yeah, not a thing. Was not a thing. So I went to Walmart, the local Walmart, and
Hmm.
found a video on yoga. It was like just a little DVD. This is how we did things back in the day. I'm probably like blowing young kids' minds. They're like, what is that? What's going on? You didn't just find it on YouTube? Like, no, this was not a thing. So went and found myself a DVD, started practicing that, and I was like, oh, this is interesting. And then once I got into college and stuff and was in a bigger city, I could go to a studio, which I didn't even seek out a studio. I, surprise, surprise, seeked out a Buddhist temple. That was the first
Oh,
thing I found. And I was like, oh, wow, this is awesome. And so I started doing satsang and doing all the community stuff with that temple and meditation. And they had a yoga class in the morning from this lovely little woman. I love her to death. I still keep contact with her. She was my first, teacher in all of those realms, and she's a she's a monk, like an ordained monk, and she was like, "Yeah, you can totally come to class. Like, I just do it on donation base and whatever." And I at the time was like a broke, starving college student, and so I was like, I don't have any money like for anything extra. I'm eating oatmeal every day. So like no, and then she's like, well, yeah, I'd be willing to barter. Like you just clean up the studio after and you can come for free. And I was like, deals all day long because now I get to do what I want and I just have to spend an extra 20, 30 minutes after and spend no money. Lovely, I'm
hmm
down. So that's really when I started working with her in real yoga is what I'll say is because before like I said I was just messing around with the DVD, which did help me kind of it dipped my toe in the waters, and kind of got me going a little bit. But I didn't have that one-on-one personal attention of like, nope, tweak this and tweak that, and all those little things that make the big differences.
hmm
Um, and learning how to breathe with your movements and the inhales and exhales while you move and all of these things. That's where it really clicked for me. And it was there on that mat in that temple, where I was like, this is amazing. This is something I want to do for the rest of my life. This is something I want to learn as much as I possibly can about and also teach to others, whoever, wants to come on the path. And so yeah, so then that's where I kind of started to jump on the path to become a yoga teacher, more or less.
Sure. Sure.
Long story short.
No, that's awesome. That's awesome. And coming from that same very small hick town in northern Michigan, I can imagine that that was not an easy path to take. At least those first couple of steps, right? Because you
Yeah, it was
start,
very pushed against actually.
yeah,
People
yeah,
like
that's what
don't.
I was gonna. Yep. Especially when you were, it sounds like stepping away from what your family religion was, just to kind of branch out and learn some of your own things or do your own studies. And I can imagine that that was very heavily frowned upon, to say the least.
Very much so, very much so. I got a lot of "We're praying for you. We are concerned about you. We just want you to find Jesus again," and just all of the things were told to me, and I just had to be like, "Thank you so much. I appreciate your concern, but I am totally fine." You
Sure.
know, and I'm better than fine. And
hmm
so yeah, it was very interesting, but and yeah, the path got very wild, but it's an interesting path because once you're walking the yogic path, I guess is what I'll call it,
hmm
and just following that authentic truth and that authentic self at all times. And I mean, we all go astray and a little bit here and there, but like always kind of coming back to that center, just living in that way, yeah, is will completely change your life.
Yeah. No, I can
Yeah.
definitely see that. What about Buddhism? Why I guess, what was there a moment or a line in the sand or like a revelation where you're like, this is everything that I've been searching for? Why Buddhism? Why that
Um,
versus all the other things you've researched?
uh, I really related with the Buddha and his story. He was born a prince and everything was great in his palace, and he's gonna go on and become, you know, the next king and whatnot. And he was out one day and witnessed someone die. Like a cart fell and some things fell on some people, and someone died in front of him, and he didn't know what death was. He didn't understand what had just happened because he was so sheltered in the palace, like they didn't talk about that. They didn't
Mm.
like let him know about that. Like he didn't see sickness really. Like that was totally foreign to him. And so then once he saw this person was dead, he's like, wait, that happens to all of us? Like we're all gonna die eventually? Like, wait, what? Like, what the fuck? Why are we even doing this? You know, what's it all about for then? You know? And so he kind of renounced the palace and everything because he's like, I can't live in this palace of riches and luxury when I know there's all these people just like dying right outside the castle walls and they don't have everything they need. And this is a harsh fucking world. And how am I supposed to be a king and like, yeah, then like, I don't know, serve everybody else while I'm on this high horse and da da da. So he renounced it all and left and went and sat under trees and was a beggar and was just kind of a homeless wanderer for however long it took to then like sit, and then he gets his enlightenment under the banyan tree and blah blah blah. But what I related to, I guess, was I had I'd grown up. Not They didn't really throw religion at us like so hard, but it was there. It was present. You know, my mom was a Catholic. My dad was Lutheran. I was baptized Lutheran. My dad's dad was a Lutheran pastor for most
Mm.
of his career. So they were all very, go to church at least for. My family was more like go to church at least for the holidays. We're not
Hmm.
going to go every Sunday, but whatever. You know, my parents were a lot more loose on it, but that was the general thing. And the whole thing that really the only thing that really got drilled on us was like, you know, God and heaven and the devil and hell, and do good things and you'll be here, do bad things and you'll be here,
Hmm.
and that's life, and it's like okay, whatever, in a very loose terms, obviously. Um, and then when I was 8, my mom suddenly passed away, and it was just me and my dad and my brother, and it was very, yeah, rock. It was just kind of rock bottom for all of us, obviously. But I was so young, and as a child, and I was just like, this doesn't make sense. Like she was so loved, and she was so great, and she was so positive, and all these things throughout the community, and but like why would something so bad happen to somebody if you're following these rules, isn't it supposed to all be good?
Hmm.
And so I was just like, this is bullshit, and no, like it's not that simple and it's not that easy, and like um and bad things happen to good people too, and like we need to live our lives knowing that like our life is our life, and that's what we have. The time
Hmm.
that we have is what we have. And I felt that a lot of times in Christianity it was pushed to like repent and kind of do things you don't want to do now so that in the afterlife you can live in eternal happiness with all of your loved ones the exact way you remember, with your pet cat that you had when you were 4, and like everything's great. And it's like that's not really like that's close. Like you're kind of getting there, but this is really distorted, you guys. We can take away all of this like weird ego shit and like put this in a much simpler levels.
Hmm.
And so, um, really, with Buddhism, it comes back around to just karma. What you reap is what you sow, and which is again along the same lines, but it's not saying you are protected from pain. The Buddha actually, like, in Buddhism, is all about pain and suffering, and it's about you're alive, and so there will be pain and there will be suffering
Hmm.
because you are alive, and you are going to be having constant needs that you need to get and get met, and this, that, the other, and it's going to be hard and it's going to be painful, but you came here for a reason, and you're in this body for a reason, and you can, go through and your attitude and what you do every single day with the intention that you have behind the things that you're doing, because that matters too. You can't just do the good things and have shitty intentions behind it.
Right.
You can't be just doing it being like, oh, haha, this means that I'm gonna, be looked at like this or that. Like, no, 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 that's again ego bullshit talking. Like,
Hmm.
you can't be doing the good for like all of this praise and all of this later gratitude or like greater later on received like gifts like eternal heaven, you know? It's
Mhm.
like you got to be doing it because it's making you feel good now, and you know that it's the right thing for you now, and that it's going to bring you to your truth or bring you back on course in your life. And um but that no matter what, there's going to be pain and suffering. And so no matter what, you need to just own up to that first and foremost. And then then it starts down the noble path of like then you come into non-attachment. Basically, what is the root of all suffering? It's attachment,
Mhm.
you know. And I very much related to that because the root of my suffering was my attachment to my mother. And then when she wasn't there anymore, I was like, well, what's worth it? You know, why even have this? Because for
Mhm.
a child, that is their whole life, you know. Um, and I mean, dads do a lot too. Sorry, dads, but I mean, if you're a parent, you understand, like, even if the mom and dad are in the room and the kid gets hurt, they're going to be running to mom for the band aid, you know? It's
Mhm.
just natural. And so, yeah, to just understand pain and suffering is always going to be there, and just putting that out there just as a blanket statement before we get into anything. Because I felt like in other religions they made pain and suffering seem like you only go through that if you're a bad person,
Right.
or you if you did it, then you deserved it, you know? And it's like, no, because some things are just shitty, you know? So yes, sometimes you reap what you sow, and or most times you reap what you sow, and you get the actions of what, or you get what you did the actions for. But also, there's that random card, you know? Life likes to throw in those fucking random boomerangs where you're like, whoa, did not see that one coming, and there's no good thing about it, you know.
Mhm.
Like there's you don't have to be like, oh well, it was positive because no, sometimes things are just shitty,
Yeah.
and that's okay, you know. And Buddhism kind of gives that space for things to be shitty, like that's allowed, you know. And it doesn't mean that you're going to hell, and it doesn't mean that you did something bad. It just means, yeah, this is the pain and suffering that we were talking about that's going to keep rearing its head whenever we're alive, because we're alive, you know, and
Mhm.
because it's painful. We come in and it's painful, and we go out and hopefully it's not painful, but shit happens along the way, you know. And so yeah, I guess with Buddhism, just really focusing on that, and that, you know, just to be a little bit less attached to the ego, less attached to everything being so solid, you know, and
Mhm.
needing anything to be solid outside of your own self and what you know to be true. um and I think one of my favorite, I guess, anecdotes and or stories of it, which was like, I guess, a light bulb moment for me too, was the la- when Buddha was dying, he had um, his disciple Ananda, who had been with him pretty much the whole time, and Ananda was like just bawling his eyes out as like the Buddha is approaching death. Like they can just tell he's old, he's dying, and but it's okay. He's cool with it. He's fine. It's his current, like he's done all his shit. He's ready to go. Um, and yeah, Nanda is just crying and all this stuff, and Buddha's just like, why are you crying? Like, you know that like we're all just energetic beings, and my energy is just going to move on and be with the oneness energy of us all, and I'm never really going to be leave you. Like, we're all part of each other. Like, we all like, coexist in this one single consciousness plane. Like, we're still together. So what, like, and this is what we've been talking about for the last 50 years, bro. So like, why are you freaking out now when I'm dying? Like, you shouldn't be
Mhm.
doing this. We've talked about this forever. And Ananda was just like, well, it's I'm not sad that you're dying because I understand everything you've taught me. It's your time. It's fine. I get it. I'm sad because I've been with you all of this time and I've never reached enlightenment, and you're dying, and I'm never going to reach it now because I was with the Buddha for all the time that he was here and I still haven't fucking reached it, and now you're dead, and now I'm fucked, you know.
Yeah.
And And the Buddha goes, Ananda, he's well, in Latin he goes Appa Dipo Bahava, which is what I have tattooed on my shoulder, and it means be a light unto yourself. And it's just the fact of like Ananda, like you are the light. Like you don't need me. I am not your light to see what you need to see. It's you. You are the light unto yourself. And
Hmm.
that is it, you know. And then he died. So the story goes, after he says that, then he dies. Those are the last three words he says. And then, so the story goes, Ananda reached enlightenment the next day.
Hmm.
Um, but because he was finally able to be like, oh, yeah, I was looking at him as my God. I was looking at him as an outside source to tell me what I know to be true is true when
Hmm.
I don't need that. I don't need an outside source to tell me that. I feel it. I'm a human being and I'm here and I've experienced it. And so if I'm experiencing it, nobody can tell me I'm not, you know?
Hmm.
Um, where, yeah, instead of, other religions where it's like, you must repent, you must come back and, tell me everything bad you did this week. It's like, why? Why? And what are you doing? Why are you doing those things so badly? Like, what what are you hiding? Like, what is so like repressed that you're doing all this bad shit all the time? Because if you're living in truth and living in alignment and living with, stepping forward with love and not fear-based emotions,
Hmm.
there's no reason you should be going out of your way to be evil, because you're focused on love, you're focused on growth, you're focused on nourishing your own garden, not going and fucking up your neighbors.
Right.
Um, so then I guess, yeah, it just really kind of put into place of like, I don't need yeah, I don't need like a babysitter. I don't need somebody to be like, if you do that, you're going to be in a bad place forever. Because I just truly believe that, I mean, the heaven and hell that Jesus was talking about is what we're living. It is your present life. He wasn't talking about, oh, when you die, you're gonna like fly off to like this magical place. Like, no, like if you just live in goodness, good things are gonna like naturally and abundantly come up for you.
Hmm.
And you're gonna live a very like happy and loving and great life. And that is heaven, that is being loving and being supported and being all the things that humans want, that we crave as a community. But if you're working out of, yeah, fear-based emotions or anxiety or control or manipulation, you're going to just get really weird and bad stuff, weird energy going on through your relationships, through your work, through everything, that it's like that's the eternal hell.
Hmm.
Because who wants to wake up to that every day? Like that is eternal hell. We're not here for eternity, but you're pretty much in Groundhog Day, waking up to the same bad situations of what you've created. And so all of that, I guess, ties into it's yoga isn't even like an exercise. It's just a way of life and a way of like watching energetics and seeing it work in your own life. Just taking it and experimenting with it on your own and seeing how it works for you and being like, oh shit, it does work.
Yeah.
It is that easy, you know?
Hmm. Yeah. Yeah. Do you know, I think we talked about this, but do you know who Dr. K is by chance?
I don't. I don't.
He's, his name is, or his business is called the Healthy Gamer. And he is, a Harvard graduate psychiatrist, psychiatrist. I'm pretty sure he's a psychiatrist. And then he also studied to be a monk for 7 years. And he went through like different areas, like India, Japan. Like he went to a bunch of different countries. And
Mhm.
so he takes these, and he's I believe he's nationally Indian. I believe his parents are both Indian. And
Mhm.
so he's got like both extremes, right? He's got Western medicine and then Eastern medicine, and he just smashes them together. And
That's cool.
yeah, he is really cool, and I've learned a lot from him through his like YouTube, and I have his guide, and I've been going through his guide on meditation, and he talks about how meditation is kind of like an umbrella term, but meditation is one of the few things that can improve, that has shown to have improvements on mental health all across the board. So like, no, it doesn't matter what type of mental health issue or disorder that you have, there is a form of meditation that can help with that. And so it's not like a cure, but it can help. And so like, obviously the more common ones are like the depression, anxiety, and stress and stuff like that. And there's ways to focus your mind and body. And I think I was telling you that I've been trying to experiment with what's it called? Tratica. I think it's fixed point gazing. We just stare at a candle essentially as long as you can.
Yeah.
Um, and so just being able to do something like I guess not really scientifically, but if you try to stare at something as long as possible, eventually you're going to want to blink. And then you're going to fight your body to not blink. So then the only thing you're thinking about is keeping your eyes open and not blinking. And so you can't think about anything else. You can't think about stress or the anxieties, work, life. You can't think about anything besides not blinking. And so it really puts all of your focus into that candle, and it helps ground you. Or at least for me, it helps center me and ground me. But one thing that he was saying is that there's like over 100 different types of meditation. So if people say meditation is not for me, and I very much fell into this camp. Like I can't just sit in lotus position going om all the time. It's like that's one form of
Right, right.
meditation. There's a lot of other
That's
different forms.
It's
Yeah,
one single one. That I don't even do a whole lot, you know? I do occasionally, but yeah, go on. Yeah.
yeah. No, he was just saying like you know a lot of because a lot of people follow a similar story to you. They want to get into it. They go to a studio. They do what their instructor says, and it didn't work. For you, it worked, but for them, it might not work because they're learning one particular type, and that type doesn't fit their needs. And so you have to kind of experiment and learn. And from what I have learned, is each person kind of has like their own recipe on what is the best kind of overall, I guess, format or program for them. And so, kind of
Mhm.
experimenting and creating your own routine or recipe to fit your needs is kind of the best way to do it. And I'm sure that ever changes as well because we are always changing, right?
Right, and you do need to like implement new things eventually or change something out or whatever, but you're very right. Like each person is pretty easy to just be like, "Oh, you just need this and you need this." And like try those two practices and this is going to help, you know? And then when those become ingrained and good, then it's like, "Okay, now let's work on that and that," you know? Um But yeah, pratyahara or like the gazing um, is great, and you can also like eventually. I feel like if you when you keep practicing that, you'll get to the point where you don't even have to focus on like keeping your eyes open. You're just gonna do it, and then you're just gonna fall into basically like kind of fall into it, you know, and just kind of like this sounds so corny, but it's like so fucking true. Like you're gonna be one with the flame, you know, or like you are the flame. Like you're not even like checked in with this body. You're like there and you're the thing, and then like something will happen, or maybe your alarm goes up, and then you're like, whoa, 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 and you're like coming back into it. Like, wait, I'm a human body. I am not this candle. Like, but that was a fun experience, you know. But it allows, yeah, there's so many things to that just allow you to really like cleanse your entire body, open your mind. Because like, when do you let your mind go that far?
Right.
You know, like nobody does because it's not natural. Like our bodies naturally want us to be like boom, 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 because that's how you stay alive. You
Mm-hmm.
know, if you were in the wild, it's like I need to be alert. I need to make sure. Oh, what's that sound? Was that a tiger or was that a bird? Like I need to know.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but that's how we're still geared. But we just live in a modern world, you know, and people. It's hard for us to deal with, you know, because normally we'd spend all of our time chopping wood and like preparing for the imminent winter that's coming, you know. But we have all of these base needs met that like we have all of this extra time that it's like gives us anxiety because we feel like we need to be productive. We need to be doing something because historically, as a species, we did.
Mm-hmm.
If you were the lazy one and not like getting the summer sun and shit while you could, you're gonna starve this winter, you know? So like that's still very much a need in us to like do things or feel like we're being active, but there's not as much physically that we really have to do these days. Um, which is why we kind of have to tame ourselves, and it's great that we have all this extra time,
Hmm.
or like work, whatever. But yeah, it also doesn't allow us to just be, and just kind of not be thinking about a bazillion things at once. Like one of my favorite, like Osho, like quotes is like, once you're done, once you know meditation, like you don't need to meditate anymore because life becomes meditation. Like
Hmm.
when you're walking, walking becomes meditation because you can just focus on just walking. Like that should be the goal of meditation, is like that when you are doing things, you are fully engrossed in doing that thing. That's basically what monkhood is,
Hmm.
is not thinking about dinner plans and doing this and doing that and whatever, and like, oh shit, I've got to do this, and oh, I've got to do that, and oh, I need to make that appointment for next week, and oh, I need to remember to get that from the store. Like, no, don't allow that in, and like, just walk down the road.
Hmm.
There's a tree. Great. Like just like observe the things and really be in your environment, noticing the things around you and not so in your headspace thinking about just other stuff where you're totally not present. You
Hmm.
are not noticing the trees. You are not noticing that the sky is really pretty that day. Like there's just all these things that people just totally pass by because they're not looking for it, because they're not being aware, because they have the monkey mind of a human, you know? That's like that monk. I don't say monkey mind to be rude, but like that's what it's called in Buddhism, is the monkey mind, because your mind will jump from thing to thing to thing like a monkey. And so
Hmm.
like it was just, that's the thing. Um but yeah, to be able to just calm it down even for 5 minutes a day, 10 minutes a day, can make a huge difference. And then once you learn how to access that, then it's like you can do it while you're chopping vegetables for dinner. And it doesn't have to be like, I have to meditate, I have to go sit down and meditate. It's like, no, the meditation today is chopping these carrots and these veggies, and we're just chopping them. You know, that's it. We're not going to be thinking about other things. We're just chopping. We're just being here with the food. I feel like cooking is a really great way to meditate.
Hmm.
'Cause I find like, one, it's stressful for me because I have my three kids that are coming in and out of the kitchen, wanting this, wanting that, da da da. I'm like, it's almost dinner, da 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 da. Don't touch that knife. That's a hot pan, da 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 da. Like just all the things. So like as a mom, it's like this is the meditation. It's like we're just being here, we're doing it, and like not to be worried about anything else. Just get the task at hand done, and that is it. Like just being fully present. And that's all you need to do to be meditating,
Hmm.
is just fully present in your experience and not letting your mind take you on these wild rides or stories of like, this is good because, or this is bad because. Like meditation in Buddhism, there is no positive, there is no negative. It just is. Until when you just let things be and not label them, it's really nice. Like what can change in your just view when you're like, this is neither good nor bad, you know? This just is.
Perfect. Perfect. No, I like that a lot. I feel like we could have multiple more of these conversations, and I would love to have you back on. But I do have two more final questions for you. The first one,
Yeah.
I think this is a pretty obvious answer, but I want to hear it from you. If you could create a character sheet for yourself in real life, what class would you be?
What, wait, what
Like,
class would I be?
yeah, so like if you were to create like a video game character or like a tabletop game character for yourself, if you're not a gamer, this might not be a good question, but if you could create your own type of character build or character sheet for yourself, what character class would you be?
Okay. I would be a warrior elf, if that's a thing.
Okay, not a monk. I was gonna go monk.
Nope. No, I mean, that's close. That would be close. But no, warrior elf is what I've always kind of I guess aligned myself with a lot.
Okay, okay.
I had a really interesting acid trip one time, and it came up. I was like, I am a warrior elf. That's true. And like I had lots of people around me, and they probably over validated it. And then I was like,
Sure.
yeah, that's what it is. But I have definitely, I mean, monk, yeah, would be like, I think, an obvious answer. But if we get to be fun and in a mystical realm, then I'm like a warrior elf who probably has some magical abilities as well.
Oh, okay, nice. All right, all right. Awesome. Awesome. And then my last question is how can people get a hold of you?
You can check me out on Instagram. I'm at Hatha Yoga Mama, and that's just HATHA, and then yoga, and then Mama, MAMA. Check me out there, or my website is kelseahoughton.com, and check me out there. You can see some meditations, some yogic health stuff, holistic health things. Check it out.